Hey, hey, hey. I didn't even do the intro. But listen, I guess I can do the intro. But I just wanted to come on in and say, hey, let people come in a little bit. And I hope that you guys are ready for this review. I hope that you guys have watched the review. So yeah, before we get started, let's get into this intro. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to my channel. It's Melissa Berrien here of Real Talk with Melissa Berrien. And I am your host extraordinaire here. For those of you that are like, oh, where's the breaking news? You know, there's more to me than breaking news. I kind of made some videos, just a few. You got to check out my playlist called Everything Else Melissa Berrien, where I have reviewed everything from other content creators to some of the things that they have done to movies. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about King Richard. So before we even get started, welcome. Get comfortable. Within the next 15 seconds, if you like what you see on my channel, go ahead and hit the like button. It's the least you can do. Anyway, before I get started, I see a couple of you in the chat. Let me shout out to you guys. Blessed Reborn Spirit is listen, she's in the holiday spirit. She's giving trees, Santa, all of that, okay? How you doing, girl? Hope you're having a great day. Shannon's giving me a hey now. Hey girl, hey, how you doing? How's that beautiful baby? Hope she's doing well. What's on the side of your mic stand? I don't know what you're talking about. This is an arm that brings the mic down, and then that's the mic stand, and this is the mic. I don't know what you're talking about. Let me know. But nothing. I don't know. Try my arm. My arm. I'm you aren't used to my clothed arm, but here. Dang it, I wish I took a picture, but right now it is a gloomy evening here in Arizona, which is very rare for me to come on here and say, oh, it's gloomy, but it is gloomy. It is cool. I just came in from being poolside / fire pit slide, just side rather, just having fun by the pool. So anyway, it's just my arm. I don't know what else. But anyway, Shannon's giving me a hey now. Hey girl. Hey, Blessed Reborn is like, hello. And of course, just me. Hey girl, hey, how you doing, girlfriend? Family, how you doing? So anyway, I ain't gonna hold y'all because immediately, well, I ain't gonna say immediately because I'm trying to decide if I want to do my nails after this live or if I want to cover some breaking news or just hot topics. You know, I kind of probably would just do my nails because I want to give my brain a break from a lot of the hot topics and stuff. But I do kind of want to pay homage to Nick Cannon. Jussie Smollett is cutting up. So I might just go live and then go live like 2 or 3 times. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's get right into it. So I did a poll a couple of days ago and I was like, hey, how many of you guys actually watched King Richard? Okay. Am I the only one that watched it? I know I'm not the only one, but anyway, King Richard is I think Venus and Serena produced the show. But anyway, it is about their dad and his plan for their lives. And Bless said, let's get into these nails. Plan for their lives. And so we have this movie, and let's just start from the very beginning. I don't want to do the cast. Let's just say Richard himself. Okay. It was filmed. I'll start with the setting. It was filmed in parts of LA. We know that Venus and Serena are actually from Compton. So that was kind of true to form. The setting was nice. It wasn't like you know how sometimes when they're on a budget, they don't show a complete block or they won't show an actual area or it's cheap green screen. None of that. When it was time to be on a tennis court, they were on the tennis court. When it was time to be at the house, they were actually in a house, that type of thing. So the set was really, really nice. It drew you in. Not only was it nice and was it modern, it was also true to that time. So it wasn't like, you know, they had stores and things that was modern to 2021. It was definitely 10, 15 years ago. So it was true to form as far as that was concerned. The clothes that they were wearing, their hairstyles that they were wearing. And we're going to get into the cast here in a minute. But just as far as the setting is concerned, true to form, LA, it was great. Drew you in right away. You were able to see how their growth from a very modest home where the girls shared a bedroom. They gave you that point of view, you know, the house in the hood, so to speak, when they were making it big, when they went to Florida, that whole thing. So the setting was absolutely, I will give it a 10. It was actually on point. Now, the plot, the storyline, how it was written, absolutely. I also give it a 10 because I learned a lot from watching this. Let me see. So I had to be like in my 20s, 30s when these young ladies came out. And so it was very interesting because because when they came on the scene, a lot of us were into tennis, but we weren't into tennis. Like, you can't say Venus and Serena without saying tennis. And so they kind of brought tennis to life for a lot of people like myself. You know, you see Agassi, Ash, this one, that one, and you can get replays and everything, but nothing to the amount of exposure that Venus and Serena did. And so I was just thinking back as I was watching it, and I was like, wait a minute. I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that happened. I just remember bits and pieces, but this story, it was congruent. It was not disjointed. It didn't leave you questioning like, hey, I wonder what happened with this, or I wonder what happened with that. Very, very well written to the point where it highlighted points that we knew about, but it also gave us a little tea. Okay. There was a lot of tea in this movie, and we'll talk about that here in a second. The next thing was, okay, the costumes. Were they true to form? Just like I said previously, there wasn't anything modern. You know what I mean? They came from modest beginnings, and that's what you saw. So let me show you a little bit of that. So they came from modest beginnings. Let me move Miss Mike out the way. They came from modest beginnings, right? And so these girls, I mean, at one point it looked like there was like 4 or 5 of them sleeping in the same bed. And you know, the house. Okay, so that's the cast. I don't want to get to that. So this is a look at the setting. Let me show you. Okay. Share. So this is, so yeah, if you don't want the spoilers, now's the time to leave because we're getting into the review of the movie. So anyway, this is the plot, like I said. So this is on set of the movie. So like I said, very true to form. But for an example, I remember Venus and Serena kind of showing up on the scene. They didn't have the uniforms. They didn't have the posh Nike deal. This is really something that you found Venus and Serena in back in the day. A very large t-shirt, hair twisted out, beads, shorts. And so again, very true to form, definitely a 10. Same thing with Richard. So this is Will Smith portraying Richard Williams. And again, dad shoes, dad dream jeans, and a hoodie. Nothing flashy, nothing, you know, again, that says money. We had money before money. And I'll talk a little bit more about that journey and what that looked like for Richard. So the last thing, well, not the last thing, let's talk about the cast. I thought that the cast was spot on in the sense of casting people to portray each character. So even though Will does not look like Richard, okay, so let me show you a picture of that. Will doesn't look like Richard. However, by the time Will got finished with that accent and owning, you know, the stage presence, so to speak, he played that part. That's pretty much what I'm saying. Will played that part. And maybe, just maybe, that is why he is around here doing all these interviews and all this other stuff, you know, just kind of doing extra stuff. He doesn't have to do any of that extra stuff. Now, again, if you look at this picture, he doesn't necessarily look like Richard. But when you've followed Richard and the Williams sisters, and you know the dad's mannerisms, the way he speaks, I'm telling you, Will nailed this man. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the actual storyline and everything in a second. But right now, we're just talking about the cast members. Leave a comment down below. If you saw the movie, do you think that Will nailed I keep calling him King Richard. If he nailed Richard Williams. So again, he don't look like him, but he nailed his mannerisms. So the person writing this article said, did he kill those roles? Absolutely. So no doubt in my mind that Smith is prepared to embody Richard's tenacity, grit and grind for the film. Grab your tissues, get ready for tears. I didn't have any tears for this movie. I was inspired the entire time. And even when, before I watched the movie, I would see on Twitter where people would be like, oh, just watch King Richard. And, you know, people felt inspired. Some people were haters, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So this is Richard. The next person, I want to see the mom. So here's the person that played Ornstein Price. She did okay. She wasn't necessarily a star of the movie because, of course, the name of the movie is King Richard, but she played the mother. The tea, again, we're going to get into the tea, okay, of the movie, but there's a lot of tea that was dropped relating to her and Richard's relationship, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But she portrayed the heart of a mother that was trying to maintain balance of, you know, taking care of home, having her career, taking care of the other children, but also helping Venus and Serena master their dreams. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you look at her, I thought this was good casting. You know, we look at some of these movies, you know, the Wendy Williams movie and a lot of other movies that are cast, and the person doesn't even look nowhere near like the person. So again, that is the case with Will Smith. He doesn't look like him at all, but he embodied the mannerisms for sure. Now, this person, to me, she looks like her a little bit. It's believable. All right. So the next one, again, we're talking about King Richard, a review. Yes, Shannon said he did a phenomenal job, didn't he? Because I consider a phenomenal job when you are able, when you don't look like him, but you embodied him so much that I forgot that you don't even look like him. So I agree with you 100%. Here's Sanaya Sidney to the right, and this is Venus Williams. Again, she doesn't look like her. However, I think that these cast members studied this family to the point where they picked up their mannerism. She walked like Venus. She carried, because you know how Venus had, you know, she's kind of lanky, at least back then. And she's still kind of tall and lanky. But again, she doesn't necessarily look like her, but she embodied her presence, her humility, all of that. And we're going to talk about the storyline in a minute. I'm going to get you all his opinions on it. But again, let me know with Serena. Were you okay with this? With Sanaya, I thought she did a great job. Again, she didn't look like her, but a lot of times when you don't look like the person, but you have the mannerisms, the speech, when they, you know, as you can see, they did her hair both in the beads. Listen, that was great because that was their signature hairstyle. And once she put that hairstyle on, a lot of times you're like, wait. That's not Venus when she was little. So again, she did a great job. Good job, Sydney, on this part. Very good job. Yeah. Very, very interesting how they transformed her into a Venus, even though she didn't look like Venus per se. Hey, Lakeisha, good to see you. So if you're just tuning in, just like Lakeisha, we're doing a review on King Richard. the movie. And my reviews kind of go in depth. So if you haven't seen the movie, go ahead and watch the review anyway, and compare to what you see. But if not, leave a stick around, leave a comment. Let's talk about this together. So anyway, like I said, I think they did a very good job with her. So far, two of the people, they don't look like them, but they embodied the character. Serena, listen, this was my favorite casting. This was my favorite character. She owned, let me see, Demi Singleton. She owned this role. At times, I had to remember this is not little Serena. This one, she looked like her. And Demi did a great job portraying the spunk, the cuteness, the attitude of Miss Serena. She was my favorite. And again, she's not new to Hollywood. It says that she said she just knew she was born to perform. And so she landed on Broadway at 12. And so again, as I'm thinking back, as I'm watching the movie, I'm looking at this girl and I'm just smiling, because a lot of people like, get the tissues out. I'm just smiling because I'm like, I see them now as adults, but I look at them now at 12 and I'm like, portrayed as 12 or whatever age they are. And I was just smiling from ear to ear because it brought back very good memories. Very good memories. So we're going to talk about that. But this to me is the most true to form of all the casting. Leave a comment down below if you think if you agree or not. So we did on scene. So Tundi is one of the older sisters. She may she rest in peace. Landria and Isha Price, they were all cast. I'm, of course, am not familiar with them to the point to say they were perfectly cast or not. But here's a comparison. So this is the family with Ornstein, and this is the girls. Here's the thing. Look at the couch. Look at the socks. Look at the dirty socks. Look at and when I say dirty, I mean they just been walking around the house. You know, God bless you if you can walk around your house and your socks don't get dirty or whatever. I'm telling you right now, walking around my house, it is very dusty here. And so my point in saying that is the realism. Look at the curtains, the lamp, the lampshade, the couch, all of that. It felt like home. It felt like family. It felt familiar when you were watching them together at home before they made it big. And even when they made it big, I'm going to talk about what that felt like as well. So this was interesting because, again, the movie kind of, it shows a lot. And I'm going to talk about that. I keep saying that. But Rick Macy, I want to say, he's the coach. And as I was watching it, I was like, there's no way that this person really looks like this. You know, looking at the coach, because he's Italian, looks like he's got the nose and everything. And so I went to go look it up. Spot on. So this is second casting that I thought was spot on. They look just like him. And so that's that. And then Paul Cohen. This is one of the players that she was Serena was playing against. So anyway, that's my take on the casting. The casting was spot on in some places as far as looks, but I think they all embody the role. Now, here's the spoiler. Here's the spoiler alert, because I'm just going to tell you what the darn story was about and how well it was written and everything else like that. So I ain't gonna hold you. Told y'all. So anyway, King Richard begins when the girls are pre-teenagers, teenagers. Now, what I did, I knew Venus was older, but I didn't realize they were so close in age. And that was pounded and hounded in that movie. You knew that they were that they were close, but you also found out that how close in age they were, but also just how close they were. Serena and Venus's relationship is like a typical, they were almost like twins. stuck together like glue. And it was drilled home in the movie. A lot of times the other sisters would be gathering. They were all close, don't get me wrong, but it was like Venus and Serena together, because the older group, they were a little bit older. And then you had Venus and Serena. There comes Richard's plan. I want to say 78 pages. He says, you know what? He was inspired by somebody. He said, you know what? There's money in this. I'm going to make a 78 page plan. And we got to have some more kids to make this plan happen. So this was, you know, what we see right now, Venus and Serena, pretty much was said at the end of the movie. This was his vision. This is what he envisioned for him. And the way he strategically moved, you can tell a lot of times Richard was not playing with them, Hollywood, ESPN, or anybody else if it was not a part of his plan. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So anyway, another thing, so they come on the scene. They live in Compton. They don't have a lot of money. Richard would ride around in this bus. Let me show you the bus, okay? You know the bus, little VW beat up bus. And they would all, let me show you. Here we go. They will all ride around. And he basically bartered for balls, for play space, for rackets. All that stuff was used or new, and that was one and done because they didn't have a lot of money. So Richard would go to the clubs and beg the people to let him pick up their balls. He would have this big old shopping cart full of balls that he'd go back to Compton and he would play on their turf. Well, obviously it was not the safest. We had a scene where Richard ended up getting beat up. Like it just showed the nature of where they lived. Okay. It was a rough place. It's Compton. Okay. Well, in the process of him teaching them what he studied and what he knew, he still dreamed. He still went out. He still strategized. He would contact people. Richard ain't had no business contacting half these people, but he contacted them and he said, listen, I got a 2-for-1 deal. You want my kids? And he was so tenacious to the point where top, what are these people called? Coaches. He'd be in the meeting rooms with these people. And just like I stated yesterday, he's still country. He's still, unassuming. He is what he is because he's from Louisiana. Listen, and he would call these people out on their BS and everything else, but he didn't play about those girls. So anyway, he ended up getting a coach. That was phenomenal. How he was able to basically break down barriers, places where people pretty much would say, you don't belong here. And he'd just say, I'm not talking to you. I want to speak to that person. He ended up getting, and I think a lot of us just didn't know this. He ended up getting a coach, world-renowned coach, to agree to coach Venus. Up until this point, he was selling them both as a package deal. The lesson in this is he allowed the coach to coach Venus, but then he recorded the sessions while mom took Serena. Okay, so they both being built up together. Mom was a beast in her own right, but a lot of this was not focused on her. But she was out on the court with Serena while Venus was with the tennis person. Okay, long story short, they end up going to doing juniors. That's when we see them. That's when they start making a name. Venus was killing it, but it got to the point where Richard was like, no, they're done. And that was one of the lessons that I got from this about this man. He knew he had a gold mine in his girls, but he didn't sacrifice them for money, for doing better. He knew that they could have kept, he wanted them to have a childhood. He wanted them to continue to know that family was important. So much so, on one scene, the girls were bragging because Venus beat the snot out of somebody. And this is before she went pros or anything. And he was like, all right, that's enough. You've already played. We don't have to keep talking about this. Like, you know how after you do something good and some people, they just drag it on and on and on. And then we got to go, you got to talk about how well you did it and all this other stuff. He said, listen, That's it. That's bragging at this point. You did it. Let's go on to something else. In other words, that is not who you are. That is what you did. Celebrate in the moment, but let's move on. Well, they wouldn't stop. Why he told them it was a setup. Go to the store and get me something out the store. He pulled off. He said, y'all, you got it going on so much. You walk home. I loved that part because that is me. Regardless of what my kids have accomplished, how beautiful they are, what they've done, or anything else, that number one, that's not me. It's not who I am. I'm more than my children's accomplishments as well as their failures. And you see a lot of people living vicariously through athleticism, children, their beauty. Oh, aren't they cute? Are they not cute? Whatever. And so I think that's what happens in Hollywood, because when all the praises end, people don't know what to do with themselves. When all the atta girls and all that stuff ends, there's nothing to them, no substance. And he wanted to make sure that those girls remained humble. And then he took them home and made them watch a movie, Cinderella, gave them a lesson, and them girls were humble ever since. Confident? Absolutely. But he made sure that they were humbled, and that was him. That was his doing. Now, I'm going to keep stressing him and his doing for a reason, because at the end of this, I'm going to talk about the backlash that he has gotten as a result of this. Weird. So fast forward, the guy says, listen, I can't keep doing this. No. Richard fires the guy. Again, he doesn't care. He don't care about what you think you can. That's the beauty. You know, even as a content creator, even as whatever you're doing in your setting, you have to know that you are the prize. You have to know that someone wants you. So Richard was not desperate. He fired the coach. And someone would have thought that was the craziest thing. No, desperation. And he was like, Then, being tenacious as he always is, he contacted this guy in Florida. This guy has a whole Macy. He has a whole, what's the thing called? Like a tennis encampment. You know, because one thing that I learned since watching this, when kids go pro or semi-pro, gymnastics, golf, tennis, they actually go and move to live in the places that they can train full time. So if your kid wants to be a golf pro, I know Florida has good golfing. So that's what happened. Hey, FR, how you doing? So yeah, we're just talking about King Richard and the life lessons that are all up and down in that show. So anyway, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. It's a lot of really good lessons in this movie. So anyway, my eyeliner is, leaking, whatever it's called, bleeding. So anyway, so he fired that guy. He didn't care what he thought that guy could do for him. He knew what he wanted for the girls. And he believed in his dream. He believed in where his gifts and his children's talent could get them. And he broke down barriers. Communication barriers. He called down because again, it was a whole compound. All the families lived there. Actually the kids lived there and everything. I'm gonna get to that point. By the time Richard was done, first of all, let me tell you, he calls the guy and he was insistent. The guy ends up picking up the phone. And he's like, look, you want to know about me and my daughters. The guy comes down the guy flies to Compton to meet with Richard. They play on the court. By the time Richard was done, and it wasn't done in a shit, like he was getting over finagling. He knew his worth. He knew his daughter's worth. He knew visually what they had, because everybody up until this point, before they went pros or everything, they kept talking about how these girls were amazing. And Richard would remind them, why you're telling me no? This is what he'd say in the meetings. I'm paraphrasing. Why you telling me no? Why you keep saying my daughters are amazing? You keep telling me you can't do something, but yet you're telling me how amazing they are. Basically, show me the money. You're going to coach my girls. And he remained persistent. And again, it's not like he took lessons along the way on how to negotiate. He didn't take lessons along the way on how to behave at a country club, because trust me, there were so many things that he did that was uncouth, but absolutely hilarious. I love him for it because he remained true to who he was. And so he mirrored that for these girls. But even when you look at Venus and Serena now, they are the most unassuming and humble females. Now, here's again, they are confident. And Serena is a beast. And believe it or not, that's what okay, let me back up a little bit. So at one point, the coach, Venus was the only person that was able to compete. Serena didn't, because obviously money, whatever. Child, come to find out, Serena snuck on the court at one of the places, registered herself. Mom probably knew about it and whatever. Serena has always been the more aggressive. Venus is very quiet, that whole thing, according to the movie. Serena is the GOAT, always has been. So anyway, long story short, Richard got this coach to relocate the entire family, and they drove to Florida. I'm sure he bought them an RV to get there. They did an entire road trip. Not only does Venus and Serena live on campus or train at this Master Institute training institute, this guy is paying for the family's living expenses and everything else, to the point where Richard was such a significant contributor to his program, he ended up putting the man on staff. So as I was watching this, I think you can see where the inspiration and where the positivity and the motivation came from as you're watching this, because you're like, I am the prize. I don't need someone to open the door for me. I just need to continue to do what I'm doing, whatever that is in your arena. But I also need to be persistent to know that I belong there. And hopefully, whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever it is that you're dreaming of, hopefully you don't talk yourself out of spaces and places because you feel ill-equipped. Because if you look at Richard, he is absolutely ill-equipped because he didn't go to coach training. He doesn't have a degree. He's very ill-spoken. He is uncouth in a lot of ways, but that man knew all he had was a vision. And that was what it was. The vision and the tenacity to go places that people said he does not belong. I don't know if you know or you've ever been in a situation where, and this happens often to us, where you've been to a country club or a restaurant or whatever, and it's pretty pricey. And when you walk in, people are like, okay, well, and then you're like, oh, I'm here and I come here often. Don't play with me. That's how we are. Do not play with me. And he always had to go in that, but Richard is such a personality, huge personality. As much as people were aggravated by him, they loved him. They ended up going pro. Only Venus went pro first. But the thing about it is, Serena had the bulldog heart to go pro first. She knew she can go pro first. And what was so significant, again, I love the fact that Richard was not swayed by money, prestige, people, or anything. He didn't care. And to the point where he left the decision for a brand deal up to Venus the night before her first pro match. Venus didn't want it. Now, again, how many of us as parents would have been like, are you crazy? We taking this deal. Da, da, da. Richard said, okay. She don't want it. So let's just say whatever the deal is, it was $5,000. By the time Venus got done with that match and everything else, the brand deal was almost tripled from Reebok, I want to say. Don't quote me. Was it Reebok? It wasn't Nike, because Nike was the initial brand deal. It was either Adidas, It was either Adidas or Reebok. But my point is, don't be desperate. Don't be desperate. And those of you that know I'm a woman of faith, the Bible speaks about being desperate. Don't be anxious for anything. What's yours is yours. If she would have just accepted that $3 million, and that sounds crazy to us, but if she would have rejected that $3 million, if she would have accepted it, what more would she have been losing out of? Triple the amount. I want to say 12 million, her first deal. And now, as a result of their dad's vision, as a result of his tenacity, as a result of also him just teaching them to, out of all of that, who you are, you're Venus and Serena, and you are William's daughters. Now, there's some tea that came out. I didn't realize Richard had a whole gaggle of kids on the side. And that came out in the movie. And literally people were, during an interview, Venus was like, listen, somebody came up during the tennis match calling him dad. And I was like, well, who is that? That's how she found out. There was some tension between him and Ornstein. Of course, we know that he ended up leaving her, or they divorced. I don't know who left who, don't really matter. We also know that he is in middle. The person that he was with ended up being with. He's no longer with her. His house is in foreclosure, allegedly because of her. But these women, this family is known and synonymous with tennis. Not long into a tennis conversation will you end up talking about Venus and Serena. And the thing about it is, Serena was really bummed when Venus first went pro or first started. And he told Serena, he said, listen, she may be going, but you're going to be known as the greatest. And it's true. It's very true. It gives you behind the scenes of their family workings. It gives you the stress that it took to keep the family together. A lot of times when we see people, especially people with young children in Hollywood, we think it's easy. We think it's without any type of stress. Because all we saw was Venus and Serena back in the day just showing up on the tennis court. We knew people had an issue with their braids and beads because they had never seen that before. So I heard the commentators and the news stories and stuff like that. That didn't surprise me. But when you really, really think about the things, the racism, the snide comments that they went through, kudos. Kudos, kudos, kudos. So again, this was a feel-good story. You could watch it with the family. Christmas time. We streamed it on HBO Max. So if you have HBO Max, you can watch it. I think it's in the theaters because I think when we went to the movie theater a couple of weeks ago, we were going to buy it. And I was like, no, it's on HBO Max. I'm not buying it in the theaters. But anyway, it's worth it. It's worth the time to sit down. There's so many life lessons. I've given you a few of them. Mainly, when you really, really think about the worth of these girls, but the fact that they are not moved by that. They're not moved by money. They're not moved by prestige. None of that. And I love the fact that we see that these girls are closer than what we actually see. They gave behind the scenes videos and stuff. Really, really, really good movie. I was shocked though. Let me transition to this part. And as you know, so let me end it this way. As you know, not end, but as you know, Serena ended up, Venus, these girls in there, by the time they were 20, decorated like nobody's business with awards. And then Serena, of course, is known as the greatest of all time. And that's just not even from us laymen. That is what they call her. So you can't help but attribute what this man, this 78-page plan that he had, because it was intentional. It was that intentional. And you can't, I'm not hating on them, never have hated on them on the money that they have or anything. When you think about the fact that Richard was out living in Compton, near about got shot up one night. dead, all because he wants his daughters to practice to be better, to do better. They didn't have much of a childhood as far as free play and stuff like that because they were on the court, but they loved it. They loved it. And then, we found out and we got Serena's nickname because they kept saying Meek. And I'm like, who the heck? And then I'm like, well, why are they calling her Meek? Her middle name is Jamaica. Never knew that. That's a family name. I thought that was really, really cute. So hats off. Richard got his flowers when he can see it. It didn't take for him to be passed away and everybody to be like, oh, isn't he the greatest? They were definitely a part of this project. So there were a lot of people that had backlash. There was a lot of people that had an attitude, mainly feminists. So let's go to Twitter a little real quickly, because there were people that felt like, okay, this is what they said. Okay, you have a movie about tennis, Venus and Serena, but it's named after King Richard. Listen, replay gang, and those of you in the comment section, leave a comment down below if you understand why it's called King Richard after I gave that whole dissertation. Or are you like the feminists where you're like, yeah, it kind of should have been Venus and Serena's world. The thing about it is, in my opinion, they would not, first of all, like I said, they very much were a part of this project. They very much, I want to say executive producers, but don't quote me. But if they weren't executive, they definitely were a part of the storyline and approving who would play who, all of that. Okay. And it's very interesting that in America, you have people that, a lot of times we don't see positive Black men in homes. We don't see images in the media of positivity with men and sticking with their families and providing. And as much as he was a Rolling Stone, okay, because Richard got around and they brought it out. And again, this was not unbeknownst to Venus and Serena, meaning, oh, how could they put that in the movie? No, they were a part of it. Twitter lost their mind. So let me look it up. Let's look at some of the reviews and what people had a problem with. All right, here we go. So let's share this screen a little bit and let's go through Twitter and let's see if I can find some of the negative content tweets. That way you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So if you don't know about Twitter, it's going to show us all kind of crazy stuff. So I will highlight what applies to what we're talking about. So King Richard. Here's a good news story, but this isn't what I'm talking about. It says that he paid his King Richard co-stars out of pocket to cover losses caused by the studio. That's not what we're talking about. So anyway, Mike Bagg says King Richard was a great movie. It was definitely a story that needed to be told. It absolutely was a story that needed to be told, and it was told very well. If you look here, these are different pictures of the girls with their dad. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at them and I know that these girls are actually Venus and Serena, but also I look at the cast and I'm like, what the heck? Here is some of the press. Venus and Serena insisted on Will Smith being on the cast as their dad. Here's Sanaya. I told you she played, was she Venus? And so they said she's such a beast. She was in Fences and Hidden Figures. Absolutely great casting. King Richard was the best movie I've seen in a long time. Genuinely floored me. And Jack Harlow, I agree. It was like, wow, especially if you were sort of like a teenager to an adult. In other words, if you had an awareness of Venus and Serena during this time, I had no idea all this stuff was going on. And we, like I said, we just know just from knowing how we kind of shock people just from who we are and all of that. So we knew when Serena and Venus came in with the beads and stuff, we were like, yes, but we didn't know how deep that was. We didn't know how deep the message was. That was intentional. The mom talks about that in the story. She's like, I want them to know who you are. I want them to know that you are proud Black African American young ladies. Something struck me, Moneybag says, while watching King Richard, is how white people felt and probably still do. They own tennis. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, because again, with my children being involved in a lot of different sports, including swimming and everything, there are a lot of times people look at you like, okay, why are you here? Because I can. Because we're human. I know it's hard to believe for some of you. It says, like, they told Richard to put Venus and Serena in basketball as to say, that is your sport. This is not your sport. And it's true. My oldest daughters are pretty tall, and people just really assume that they were just master ballers, and they're not aggressive like that at all, but they just knew that was a sport for them. Instead, they went on to cheer, play basketball, swim, or whatever. Anyway, Serena Williams on King Richard and the entrepreneurial lesson she learned from her dad. And that's what I was saying. You want to know about entrepreneurship. You want to be inspired as an entrepreneur, as someone who is a content creator, as someone that's trying to just break down doors in life. Watch the movie. Absolutely watch the movie. King Richard and Richard Williams, as I I don't know why I keep calling him King Richard, but just from the movie. But Richard is an example of that. And he gave you an example of tenacity and fighting through things. I'm going to tell you right now, there's so many people that can't get through hard times together as a family, or don't want to sacrifice things for their children or for life. The minute, something gets awfully wrong, they're either mad or attitude or whatever, or they just quit. And the thing about it is, by the time you ended up watching that, you saw the sacrifice. It may have meant that they didn't go eat where they wanted to go eat, or it may have meant that they, Venus said, we didn't go to certain games or did this or did that. But look at the bigger picture. Look at who these women are today. Some of us wouldn't even go ask people for something that we want, let alone use tennis balls to forward your vision. It's the sacrifice of it all for me. That's what did it for me. This man did whatever the hell he needed to do to make sure that his 78-page plan did not fail. There was no going back. There was no turning back. There was no just kidding, Serena, we're just going to do Venus. He had a plan and he did it. And it was not without resistance. It wasn't without resistance. They had bills that needed to be paid. Him and the wife, were stressed out. Him doing whatever, but at the end of the day, he took his punch buggy van and did whatever he needed to do to make sure that the vision kept driving forward. Reminds me of a saying that we used to say, my husband and I, well, it's a military term, but we used to say it all the time. You drive the wedge. King Richard, I'm telling you, it was so inspiring. Let me see. I'm trying to find the tweets where people actually had a problem. Okay. A lot of times they would read. So here's a perfect example of the two girls. Here's Venus and the young lady that played her. Again, don't look like her, but she nailed it. So this is the casting. Again, they insisted that Will Smith play this part. And to quote them, they said Will Smith surpassed all expectation. Soren, I just watched King Richard and I got genuinely teary thinking about my own kids and how proud they'd be if I took up tennis right now and became a Wimbledon champion. I'm sure. It was a tenacity for me. Tough times make tough people. And that's what I got out of it. So now that I'm speaking about what I got out of it, I'm going to round it out and just end it there. What did I get out of it? I got out of it that teamwork makes the dream work. If you're not a team as a family, nothing's ever going to work. And that's one thing, despite my husband and I, what we've ever gone through, been through, gonna go through, or whatever, we're a team. And the thing about it is that Richard and Ornsey, even when they separated, they remained a team. And you have to have the same vision. Richard and here's the point. Yes, it's called King Richard, but there would be no successful King Richard if everyone else didn't do their part to make sure that the vision was going to be what it was going to be. Okay, here to support. Catch you on the replay. Thank you. So when I say that, him having a vision shouldn't be about one person. It shouldn't just be about him. Even though he's the one that came up with the plan. And the wife said it. She was like, listen, you think you did this all by yourself? You did not. I helped this way. So in order to make the dream work, first of all, you got to dream. But then second of all, you got to have a vision, because in working together, you got to know what you're working together for. And then make sure that you're working together for the good of your family. Anytime, anything that we do, it should be for the good of your family, whatever that family unit looks like. So that was the first thing. The other thing confirmed, which I'm kind of like this anyway, so it really didn't bother me. I'm not intimidated by places and spaces and people. Not at all. That's how come I'm able to have the friends that I have and go places and do. I don't care about none of that. But if you are the type of person where you just feel like, you know what, that's not for me. I can't shop there. I can't live there. I can't do that. I want my kid to have swim lessons, but they say, kids can't have black kids don't swim, or white kids can't join a HBCU and all. I know so many people who are of a different race that went to a HBCU, and the other way around. It's what you want to do and where you feel like you want to be. But also the point is, don't be intimidated by any of that. Richard wasn't intimidated by any of that. And he broke down those barriers. I'm telling you, with his country self and militant self, he didn't change for any of them. And if he felt they were being racist, he told them. If he felt like they were being too pushy on Venus and Serena, he told them. If he felt like their plush living room and whatever that was nice, and he felt like kicking his feet up, that's what he did. I love that about him. I love the fact that it showed, even if there was dysfunction, because there is definitely dysfunction. I think, most families have some level of dysfunction. I have a problem with the fact that you have more dysfunction than normalcy. That's the problem for me, but that's a whole nother live. But normalizing that type of I can't. That's just me. But anyway, I like the fact that they worked together as a team, but it was tough. Most success stories, it was tough. It was tough. My husband and I, we think back now, but it was tough. It was tough. I don't even know what else to say. The misnomer, the misconception is instant. Instant, Instagram, social media, everything. They make everything all cute with a bow. And it's just all you have to do is just TikTok, turn around, transition, and your life is going to be perfect. That is a lie. I don't know anyone that is successful, and I'm talking about true success. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about success. Families with the lineage. Successful children. I don't know anyone that you could deem successful, and even monetarily, with some substance. I don't know anyone where it was just like, oh, it was man, please, it was a piece of cake. If you want what you envision in your own personal 78 page plan, understand it's going to get tough sometimes. And you have to do what you're not willing to do to grow. This is a whole nother live. Richard confirmed for a lot of people, including myself, that growth happens in the uncomfortable spaces. What would have happened if the mom decided, I ain't taking them girls to the court. I just got off work. Or no, you can't take the girls to the court because I don't want to deal with the rest of the 4 or 5 or 3 or 2. 2 is 4. I don't want to deal with the rest of the 2. Take all of them with you. Or I don't want to quit my job and go all the way to Florida to do this dream for them. I don't want to do that. Or or Richard say, you know what? I just want to be their dad. I don't want to be on your staff to help move this forward. I don't want to have to worry about this. I don't want to do that. It doesn't always feel good at the top, but everybody wants to get to the top. And this movie just was one of those movies where it showed the tenacity and the toughness. And hopefully if you watch it and as you're watching this review, you get it. Even as I am growing, even as my channel is growing, even at tough times make tough people. Well, what's so tough about what you're doing? This is not easy all the time. It's not the hardest thing. It's not the worst thing I've ever been through in life. But at the same time, I mean, hell, think about Vogmas. Think about LIVEmas. Going live every day for at least 25 days, that's a lot. But I'm growing as a result. Some of it in a personal space, some of it publicly I'm growing. I'm learning things, I'm doing things. But one thing I know is I cannot remain the same if I'm always comfortable. And that's one of the main things that I got out of this, because you will see that you will even see Richard's growth, because he wasn't always comfortable with releasing Venus and Serena to their coaches to allow them to coach. But in order for them to be catapulted to where they needed to be, friends, he had to let go and get out of his comfort zone. So I implore you, I encourage you, if you need encouragement, if you need a shift in your thinking, because some people do, go check that movie out. And as you're looking at this movie, think about other people, other greats. We just saw Venus and Serena and it just felt like, boom, success. It didn't happen that way. Think about, all the other people. Yes, there are some people that have, that are born with silver spoons in their mouth. That's not their story. Those are the stories that inspire me. I don't want to see the people that were born with silver spoons. I don't want to hear about your tough time, how your account got down to 10,000 and you were scared. You are not who I'm talking about. And so I encourage you today to go check out that movie. Even if you're like, I'm good, I don't need the motivation, support them, because it was a great project, and they will definitely benefit from it. But more importantly, there's so many life lessons that came out of this documentary. And so if you've already watched it, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you're feeling what I'm saying, if you got the same messages, or if you're like, you know what, I didn't see it that way, I saw it this way. So let's talk about this. Definitely, let's continue to keep the conversation going about this. And most of all, listen, if you need to write it down, write your dreams down. If you need to sing it out, sing your dreams out, but don't stop dreaming. King Richard taught us that. Don't stop dreaming. I will see you guys later. Peace.